Alright, hello, Damian Erskine here again with more guerrilla style hotel room no treble videos. This week I would like to cover a simple scalar slash arpeggiatic exercise that will help you to make the connection between your chord tones and your scales. This is something I stole directly from a fantastic trombonist named Dave Glen, who lives in Walla Walla, Washington. He's somebody I teach with overseas for jazz education abroad, and he's got a lot of great scalar exercises. In one of these past camps, I was lucky enough to have a free period, so I didn't have to teach. So instead I sat in on his class more often than not, and I got a lot of great stuff from him. And this is one exercise that is especially useful for horn players, piano players, everybody. But I gravitated towards it right away and found it pretty phenomenal for bass players as well. So, here is the exercise. Now you can do this for every scale type, and thereby including every chord type. Essentially what we're going to do, we're just going to do the major scale for now. But this exercise we're going to play through the cycle of fourths. But with the C major scale, we're going to play the scale 1 through 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 in eighth notes. And then we're going to play every other note in quarter notes, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. So in one key, the exercise sounds like this. And then we'd move up a fourth and do it in the next key. So we do that through the cycle of fourths, thereby hitting all 12 keys. Sorry, phone rang. Doing this through the cycle of fourths, doing any exercise through the cycle of fourths isn't, I've never seen it as crucial a thing for bass players as other instruments, because our patterns are the same. We don't have new fingerings, new tongue and mouth positions, new keys, because we're playing in G instead of C or whatever. However, this one I felt like is actually pretty helpful to just run through. It keeps you thinking, keeps you moving, and it's just not a bad exercise, and it honestly doesn't take all that long, so you might as well, right? So this exercise is also something that would be fantastic to do for every scale type. Minor scales, dominant, the Mixolydian, every mode of the major, harmonic, melodic, whatever scale you're trying to internalize, this is a really nice way to get yourself to do it. So here we're going to go through, and I'm just going to do it in C major through the cycle of fourths. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait a beat, and then do it in the next key. B flat. E flat. And so on, in A flat, D flat, G flat, B, E, A, D, G, C. So there we have it. Now, so this is giving you all of the primary chord tones, 1, 3, 5, 7, and 1 tension, the 9. We can also extend this further to play the full scale up to the 9, back down, and then 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13. Continuing, essentially it's a full chord scale arpeggio. So in C major we'd be playing every other note. 5, 7, 9. For now I'll play 11, 13. Now the reason I hesitate on that 11 is because some of you likely already know this, some of you may not know why, so I will explain it here. In the major scale, the natural 4 is considered kind of an avoid note. Not to say you can never use it. You can always make every note works. Like I've said a million times, there's no such thing as a bad note, just a bad resolution. But generally speaking, especially in jazz theory, if you're in C major and you're, say, improvising on top, you would play an F sharp. You'd play a sharp 11. And it's not just because it's a neat sound. 5, 4. That F natural, this is easier to explain on a keyboard, clashes brutally with the third of the chord, your E. Primarily because you get this minor 9 interval when you play the whole thing as a chord. And if the piano player is playing and you play, it's just not going to sound that good, as opposed to F sharp, which has a lot of character. That sharp 11 has a lot of character. Generally speaking, that minor 9th interval is the most dissonant interval there is, even more than a minor 2nd. It seems to rub a little more harshly. Not to say that you can't use minor 9s. In fact, my favorite chord shape on the bass is a minor 9 chord, and in A. And in fact, over a minor chord, a part of what gives that chord its kind of haunting, pretty, but kind of dissonant quality is the fact that there is a minor 2nd. A, E, B, C. Now the minor 2nd can sound kind of cool in the context of a chord, but when we're thinking extensions and we're putting them on top, it winds up that minor 9 spread an octave apart. It just sounds a little brutal. So that's why we tend to use a sharp 11 on major 7 chords. So if we want to play this exercise in a major key, I prefer to play with a sharp 11. So I'll actually play Lydian. D, I'm starting in C, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, sharp 11, 13. C, E, G, B, D, F sharp, A. So if we want to do the full chord scale arpeggio, the full maximum version of this exercise through the cycle of fourths over a major 7 chord, and this is nice to get a drone going, or maybe just looping a major 7 chord in iReal Pro or something like that. You can get 2, 3, 4. To start thinking of that sharp 11. And so on and so forth. One more tip for you all. You might be thinking, boy, that sure is a lot of notes to think about, especially when you're playing them in thirds. When you're arpeggiating them up the fretboard, it can seem like a lot going on. I like to minimize and consolidate information so I can, if I can turn three things into one general concept, then I only have to think of that one concept instead of 3 things. So what I do is I think about, I've already worked on all of my arpeggios, as should you all, so you should be able to quickly identify a major 7 arpeggio and play that shape anywhere on the bass. And if you can't, work on it, get there. because then that becomes 4 notes becomes one piece of information. Major 7, here's my arpeggio. Now all we need to think about is the upper structure triad. That's essentially what they mean. 9, 11, 13, 3 notes, arpeggio, triad. So what I do is I kind of went through all of my chord types and I thought, what kind of arpeggios do I get from the 9 for each chord type? If I use my sharp 11, I just get a major arpeggio from the 9. So all I need to think is major 7 arpeggio, major arpeggio from the 9. So I'm only really thinking of 2 things as I go through and do that. And this is the kind of training that as you work it through the cycle of fourths or fifths and start to drill it and get it into your hands and into your mind, it consolidates a lot of those different things you know, and helps to further get you to a place where you can just navigate over a chord type more easily and see it across your fretboard. Now, it's also a good idea to practice playing those arpeggios in different ways, just not only in one part of the neck in one shape. Try and map it out all over. But this is the beginning of how, when you see players on YouTube vamping over a chord and you hear them, whatever, moving all over the fretboard. This is kind of how they get there. It's a lot of muscle memory, a lot of pre-mapping out of things, and it's just sometimes half of what I'm doing is setting targets for myself and almost unconsciously getting myself to those targets, and I can only unconsciously do that kind of stuff because I've already mapped all that stuff out and run the patterns over and over and over again. So my hands just know how to move from here to there, and I don't need to think about what I'm doing so much with regard to that. So I can put more energy into trying to hear melodies and trying to think about creating a storyline and not just running notes, which is a tendency. Especially when you get to a place where you can do that, it's kind of easy to just, I call it diarrhea fingers, to just go and go and go. But first you need to learn how to do that, and then you learn to taper it and start actually thinking about melody and thinking of target notes and creating space and aesthetic in your improvisations. But that's a whole nother topic. I just wanted to give you guys an intro so you could kind of see the path to getting to that place. And scalar patterns, arpeggiatic patterns are a great way to just really understand this instrument and understand harmony. So that was just the major scale. Then move incrementally. Next time, once you get that down, maybe do a dominant chord, Mixolydian scale. If you want to make it more jazzy, you can make it Lydian dominant. Throw a sharp 11 onto that dominant chord. You can do any number of things. Just take the chord types one by one. Minor chord. You can practice doing it over natural minor and then practice doing it over with the Dorian mode, playing that natural 6. Half diminished, minor 7, flat 5. You can practice playing it with a natural 9, which makes it more of a melodic minor sound. 6-mode melodic minor is literally a minor scale with a flat 5. Or you can play it with a flat 9, which makes it Locrian, makes it more of a 7th mode major scale. You have all these options, and you get to fully explore what they sound like and how to navigate them over your fretboard. There are no wrong choices. Whatever sounds good to you, go with that for now, and maybe you'll evolve and then something else will sound good to you later on. Don't sweat it. So anyway, I hope that helps. Major scale up to the 9, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, back down. Get comfortable with that, and then add the rest of the notes of the scale. At that point, you've only got 2 more left for your arpeggio. And remember to group those clumps of information. Major arpeggio, major triad from the 9. Boom, there it is. work it through the cycle of fourths or fifths, whichever way makes you feel better. Hope some of you found that interesting. From Brampton, Ontario, 2 more dates left on this tour before we head to Europe for a bit. Yeah, I'll try and get some more I'll be in Amsterdam for a few days with a few days off, so if I can peel myself away from the cafes there, I will try and do some more of these videos for you. Take care.